Remember Sonic X Shadow Generations? You know, the game everybody couldn't stop talking about last year? The game that happened to be the most polished and well-designed Sonic game in the last decade? Yeah, we're talking about that game today. I know, right? Shocker. In the year of Sonic Racing Crossworlds, we're instead talking about the game that everybody dropped after only a couple of months. Oh, but there's a reason for that. But first, I'm happy to announce that starting April 27th at 5 PM Eastern Time, you can get your very own mini SF plushie. So on April 27th, head to PlushifyLab.com to secure one of your own. I'll leave the link in the description as well as in the bios of all of my socials. After the starting date, we only have a few weeks to sell this thing before it's gone forever, and we need 200 sold by that deadline for the plush to ship. So I would really appreciate your support if you want to buy one. This was always something I wanted to do, and I'm so excited to finally share this with you all. I will share more details when the thing actually drops, but for now, let's get back to the video. Remember when Sonic Generations dropped way back in 2011? What was the one thing that people said was missing from the game? That's right, DLC. It felt like such a huge missed opportunity for this game. Imagine if they added new zones, bosses, music, collectibles, and anything else in post-launch updates. All we got was a minigame that was nothing more than a simple pre-order bonus. I thought full DLC was a no-brainer given that Sonic Generations was made exclusively of material from past Sonic games. They could have just taken more material and made it into DLC. So with Shadow Generations, it sort of felt like that Sonic Generations DLC we never had. But here we are, 6 months after the release of Shadow Generations, and history has repeated itself. All we had post-launch content-wise was a Sonic Movie 3 tie-in level, which was a 2-minute, mostly linear, one-act run through Tokyo, mainly comprised of cutscenes and quick-time events. That's the only DLC we ever got for this game. But why haven't we gotten more? Again, it feels like a no-brainer. There are countless Sonic games to take levels from, including games that haven't been represented in either of the Generations games. Some might be quick to bring up the fact that Sonic Team is currently working on Sonic Racing Crossworlds, and hopefully the next mainline Sonic game, so they don't have the time and resources to make Shadow Generations DLC. Here's my problem with that. When Sonic Frontiers came out, they announced an entire roadmap of post-launch content that would be released throughout 2023. Things like new challenges, costumes, new playable characters, and even a story expansion with a revamped ending were all planned to be released throughout the year. And this wasn't Sonic Team's only project, as Sonic X Shadow Generations was announced only months after Sonic Frontiers The Final Horizon came out. Sonic Team clearly had enough developers to work on some updates for Frontiers, while the other part of the team worked on the next Sonic game. Oh, and Shadow Generations apparently wasn't even worked on by the A team of Sonic Team. It was worked on by the B team, while the A team was and still likely is working on Frontiers 2. So Final Horizon and all of the updates were likely developed by other factions within Sonic Team. At least that's how I interpret all of this. My point is, Sonic Team has enough resources to develop DLC for Shadow Generations on top of their other projects. So now you might say, well, why does Shadow Generations need DLC? I can acknowledge the fact that the Sonic Frontiers updates were mainly made because the game was pretty unfinished near the end. It was nothing unplayable, but the experience as a whole felt very incomplete. Shadow Generations is a pretty solid experience all the way through, and everything feels completely fleshed out through the very end. Or does it? Look, the game is heavily polished, there's no doubt about that. But was I the only one who felt a little disappointed with the final act of the game? Every area in Shadow Generations had 2 zones and a boss fight. You started in Space Colony Arc, then you went to Rail Canyon, and then you fought the Bio Lizard. Then in the second area, you start in Kingdom Valley, you go to Sunset Heights, and then Metal Overlord. But in the third area, you go to Chaos Island, and then straight to the boss fight. There's no second zone there. Sure, there's also Radical Highway, which is a pretty good ending zone, but it wasn't anything we haven't already seen in the game. Those Radical Highway segments appeared in most of the levels. Why do we need a full zone off of it? And then it clicked. Wait a minute, they probably ran out of time here. It's exactly what happened with Frontiers. They didn't have enough time to flesh out the ending of the game and make a unique final island, so they took the first island and split it into 3, with the last 2 parts occupying the end of the game. It seems that Shadow Generations took ideas from the Doom Zone areas and repurposed them into Radical Highway to fill out the finale of the game. In fact, there is solid proof in the game files that some of the set pieces seen in Radical Highway were once just going to be Doom Zone set pieces. In the beta version of Space Colony Arc, there's a section in the Doom Zone that features a longer version of the part where Shadow was sliding down the building. This part was taken out of this version and put into Radical Highway in the final game, almost like they took content that was once put in another part of the game and repurposed it into a full zone. I wouldn't be surprised if at one point each level was supposed to have a Doom Zone segment, because it's kind of weird to me how 3 of the 5 main zones in the game have these segments, but instead of the other 2 having them, we have 2 full Radical Highway acts instead. Obviously, I'm just making assumptions here, but I think this game definitely could have benefited from having some post-launch content. I think we were all expecting a zone from Shadow the Hedgehog to make it in as the final zone, but instead we got this taped-together Radical Highway zone that doesn't even really look like the Radical Highway we're used to. So, I'm very disappointed that we never got worthwhile DLC from this game. That added more levels to the game and made it feel like a more complete experience. But I guess it's not too late. They definitely still have time to randomly shadow drop DLC for this game. Crossworlds isn't out yet, and we don't have any word on the next Sonic game yet, so I think there is time to drop DLC for Shadow Generations. I don't think it will happen, but I would be happy if it did. I would love to see maybe Dragon Road from Sonic Unleashed or Asteroid Coaster from Sonic Colors make it into the game. That would be pretty awesome. But yeah, guys, this is something that I've had on my mind for a while that I wanted to talk about. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Goodbye.